Hey, everybody. Welcome to another week of easy for me to say, enjoying orange slices with Jeff and Ian. This week we talk about the Olympics, the Canadian and U.S. men and women's teams a little bit. Also, some other teams that are going to be appearing in Beijing in February. Also, talk about the latest offer sheet that Carolina sent out and ultimately picked up the player they wanted. Talk about fantasy hockey, and we also talk about time zones. So enjoy.
Well, hello, Jeff Sharples. How are you this week?
What's up, Lord Bagg? Haven't seen you in a week.
I should be patient Bagg is what I should be. I should change my name. I'm going to change my name to Typhoid Mary. I'm going to change my name to. It's been a week. You traveled a lot last week, and I stayed at home the whole week. Things happened in the NHL. The ladies, the Canadian ladies, went to overtime with the American girls, and they came out victorious. Did you see much of that game, or did you get to see any of it?
No, I didn't actually get to. I just saw the highlights of it. Didn't get a chance to see it, but double overtime, beautiful goal by Canada to win it, which sets up the next time that they'll see each other. I'm guessing for all the marbles, which will be the Olympics.
Oh yes, that's a big thing this week when the boys said we're going to go to the Olympics too.
Yeah, so I think to talk about the women's game a little bit, I think you've got the two front runners in Canada, the U.S. 1, 2, whatever way you want, whoever you want to put in front of the other team right now. Canada got the World Championship, so they're the team to beat. I don't see a dark horse coming out of the women's game to dethrone one of those two teams, although you never know. But on the men's side, and as you mentioned, the NHL players are now going to participate in the Beijing Olympics. I just kind of hope that they can get people in the building for it. We'll see how that all, kind of works its way out here in the next few months. But I'd love to see the building filled in Beijing and a lot more teams to pick from. Even though we would consider Canada and the U.S. to be two of the medal favorites, there's a lot of other teams that you could easily see on the podium.
You can't sleep on Sweden. You can't sleep on Russia, even though they're not even supposed to be there. And you can't sleep on the Czechs. So,
right? How about the Finns?
The Finns. That's how
You might have been at home for a week, but you haven't lost it. Still edgy.
I honestly think you can't sleep on the girls' side on the Finns. When I watched them play Canada the first time, I think they're sniffing. They're sniffing. They're a strong team. They seem to have a lot going on, and I think a lot of them are playing over in America, right, in college teams. So I would say be careful. Don't go lackadaisical in against the Finns when you're at the Olympics next year, ladies. Canada, it's funny because I've always heard this. Canada's got enough teams that they could field two teams. They got enough players they could field two teams. Wouldn't that be great if we had a B team going over there?
Can you imagine them being called the B team too? The chip on their shoulder. It'd be so awesome. It's Canada B, Canada Light. They'd probably just go over there and rip it up. Actually, they did that a couple of years ago where they had the team and then they had the Young Guns team, and that was kind of cool. And they had that those games out in Toronto on the East Coast. But I think that if everything plays out the way it normally does on the women's side, you are going to see Canada and the U.S. in the finals. But every time, if you ever want to go for upsets, and I'm not saying there's going to be upsets, but you're talking about a big time change for the North American athletes going over to Beijing. Okay, so if you look through history, when champions have had to go retain their titles in other parts of the world in different time zones, I think back to Mike Tyson getting knocked out. I think it was by Buster Douglas years and years ago in Japan. They're trying to grow the sport over there. They take their heavyweight champ over there. He gets knocked out. Then Ronda Rousey, I think she was down in Australia when she got taken down for the first time. So, these guys and gals are going to be over there for what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, so they probably get their body, clock changed to what's going on over there. But if you see somebody a little sluggish, or teams that just can't seem to find their rhythm, I just wonder if time change or time zones has some effect. We will see.
I think you have to stay on the same clock that you're over here and just kind of let yourself slowly slip into it. But it's going to take 2 or 3 days. Those guys are young. You might see the coaches fall behind because they're not used to it.
Well, they'll just be out at the bar if they can get to the bar. They're probably at the Olympic bar, the coaches. But
I remember years ago I went to China and did shows, and I went to underground parties afterwards. I went to some underground parties. It was like I went with Jim Gaffigan over there, and then these people invited me out, and I'm like, okay. So I thought all of a sudden I thought it was in a war movie. It was crazy. I was just doing but I slept through going to the Great Wall the next day.
Like, do they have the pictures to prove it?
It's me there. I'm like, Jim, just Photoshop me into your family, your blonde families at that. They're still blonde. When I was with Gaffigan, they were all taking pictures with him. They thought he was a good luck charm, and then they'd go bet on horses after they touched him. It was awesome.
The Wall is a very interesting place. One of the most fascinating places I've ever been. I will say this: we both been in Asia, and from the North America, obviously you're traveling west to get there, and they say it's always easier on the body to travel west. You pick up kind of where you left off a lot quicker than traveling the other way. So yeah,
I think that's a lie. I think it's harder to come back to your time zone no matter which way you're coming from. Once you get back, I feel like I always get knocked around coming back to my home time.
Right, but and I'm not disagreeing with you on that. But when I came back from we were over in Macau. When I came back from Macau, I was up at 2:00 in the morning. I was like, well, I can't sleep. So from 2 to 4, I actually did something like clean dishes and mop the floors and did stuff like that. And the kids would be up too. Like, we can't sleep either. So everyone had a job for the first week or two we came back. So that's something. We're talking about time zone changes. It's really going to affect these athletes, especially we're talking about the NHL players coming back and picking up their season. They're gonna be pretty drained. So it'll be
thank God we're not sending a Canada B team. Otherwise there would be trouble. I like it. You guys should have started a janitorial service when you got back.
The house was never so clean as when we came back from being in Asia for a while, because I don't know how different the time zone is. I want to say it's got to be around 12 to 15 hours, I think, and maybe around 15, right? So
about 10. I think it's about 10.
Is it 10? Well, we'll look it up as the show goes on here, and then we'll report back. So
speaking of being homeless, again, the Arizona Coyotes have no building to play in. They've put an offer to play in Tempe. I think it's time to move that team out of Arizona. I know everybody that works there loves to be in Arizona. It's very fun and it's warm all the time, but it is time. People are just not picking up on the game there like they should be. So it's time to move it. Thoughts?
You know what? I think they're going to give it one more go. Tempe is where they're talking about putting the building in.
Better.
What?
Which is better to where
way better. Like if you've ever been to the Glendale where the building is now, and you have, it's way out there. What's that? Northwest side of town.
I took a gig during the pandemic that paid nothing to see where the building is, so I would go back to see a game there next year. And now they're moving the team, so I just wasted my time going to this club that was right next to where they're playing what's it called, the Godzilla Arena or whatever. It's something like that. I
don't know what's going on. They tried to build around it, and then people. It's just hasn't worked out there. So the other building,
got way more going on in it. Tempe's exciting college. It's downtown, easy to get to. But, and I am interrupting you, I still don't think that Phoenix deserves another shot.
Okay, where would you put them?
I would put them in, and everybody says no to Quebec, Kansas City or Quebec.
Okay, how about Houston?
Nope.
Okay. That's your final answer?
That's my final answer.
It'll be interesting to see. Here's the thing. you have a team like the Islanders who are moving into a new building this upcoming season that's got a following, like, a legendary following on Long Island and up in New York. You have the Arizona that's kind of always scuffled along, and you just wonder, is a new building going to do it? Is it going to be enough to draw the people out, or is Arizona going to fight the problems that have, that some of the teams in Florida have fought over the years, is trying to get people in the building? Obviously, Tampa Bay is doing a lot better. They've got a good fan base because they've been winning. They've, and now Florida is starting to win too. But can they fill that can they fill that building?
It's weird because they're both Tampa and Miami and Arizona are what do they call them, white gooses or something like that, snowbirds. They're snowbird towns, so you think it would be easy to put people in those buildings without having to do much work. So the fact that they haven't been able to get anybody in those buildings with how much work they've been doing says to me it's just not going to happen.
Right. Well, if you can put a winning product on the ice, which it doesn't look like it's going to happen this year, and Arizona's moving into the Central. So they've got their work cut out. Let's see what happens if they can build a building in Tempe. Phoenix is a great area. Obviously, people love to visit there, and the players love to play there. It's just a matter of getting the players that are there on a winning program and the people that are there to attend and give them kind of the experience like you do in a lot of these major cities, where you've said it many times and it holds true. Most of the teams that do really well have their buildings downtown where there's stuff to do around there, and there's a lot of energy. So we'll see what happens.
I think sports in general, NFL, Major League Baseball got really lazy and went for cheap buildings outside of the towns. And you started to see the teams that are doing well are the teams that move their buildings back into the city. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Location.
You kind of went away there like you were whispering, but I got you.
Location.
Yeah, that's better. But you bring up a good point. And you look at the San Francisco 49ers, legendary franchise in the National Football League, and now they moved them 35 miles to the south. They're basically in San Jose, but Santa Clara is right there. And, they got this sweetheart deal to put the building there, but it's a lot warmer down there. I've got friends that were season ticket holders. They said they can't even sit on the east side of the building. And of course, they're all afternoon games there. There's some Monday night, I guess Sunday night games. But to me, even though Candlestick was falling into the earth, I would have loved to have seen them build next to Candlestick or find property near, like what the Giants have done. They got that ballpark right on the water. Now the NBA team, the Warriors, are right on the water downtown there where they're playing. It might have been a little bit more difficult to get people in and out of there, but you're only talking 8 home games a year, maybe some playoff games. And then you have this iconic franchise in an iconic city. Now they're playing just north of the San Jose airport in Santa Clara. So I don't know. I mean, I think
Sharks
missed on that one.
And the Sharks have been trying to move to. They want to move to San Francisco. The Sharks. They want to move over there. So I'm going to put it back to you though, because you said Houston, I said Kansas City, Quebec, but also I think Portland floats through there as well. Don't you think?
Yeah, they could, but you got to give Seattle a chance to get their sea legs, right? So you got to give them a chance to get their feet underneath them. Quebec obviously is going to support. Now the question becomes, and the same question goes to Quebec as it does go to Portland. Well, Seattle is just coming into the league as the newest team. Well, Montreal is the most established team in the league. Are they going to want Quebec up the street from them? Again, I don't know what the answer to that is, but
fuck you.
Yeah, I don't think Montreal is a big fan of having a team move back into Quebec City myself. And let's just put it this way. If you have Arizona and that's a team you're going to move, or San Jose ultimately wants to get, they need to find a new place because that building is not going to work for them long term. Kansas City and Houston work just from a geographical standpoint because Arizona, if they're the team that moves, they're already in the Central. both those cities are perfect for them. They got a built-in rivalry overnight with Dallas and St. Louis if they go to Kansas City. Dallas and Houston, and St. Louis if they go to Kansas City. Or you flop, San Jose moves over to the Central, one of those cities. Then you bring Arizona, if they're still there, back into the West. But the team that needs the most attention, I think, and is no question, is Arizona. They're going to have to figure out what they're going to do with this team in the next 12 to 24 months. And I would even say 12 to 18 because they need to get moving on fixing this. They're getting lots of draft picks. They're making moves, but they need to find a place to call home.
Right.
Maybe
they should just put it in Ontario, California. Call themselves. It's bizarre.
Ontario. Yeah, well, they could totally. I mean, there's 29 million people from San Diego to Burbank. So
one of them.
Yep, you've entertained every one of them, haven't you?
I've seen a million faces and I've rocked them all. So stupid. Hey,
yeah.
Let's talk about how Montreal, and I'm gonna blow his name for it. It's jesperi kotkaniemi.
Yeah, that was better.
That was He was he has now a member of the Carolina Hurricanes, and it's interesting because I've noticed a couple things. First of all, last week, the week before, Montreal fans were trading him for Jack Eichel, and now he's a bum. Good luck with the Hurricanes. So that's a very weird thing to do. But then on the other hand, some people are saying, this is the part that they needed. The Hurricanes are a Stanley Cup contender. I don't think so. I may be a top 8 team, but there's no way they're getting by Tampa again this year. I don't think they improved that much with all the moves they made, I might be talking out of my butt, but Jeff Sharples, how do you feel about kotkaniemi going to?
I love it. I think, he didn't go to Carolina and say, hey, I want 6.1 million. Like they've invested a lot in this kid. He was 3rd overall a few years ago in the draft. Montreal was, they were bringing him along. And now that whole thing, they're up against blew up in their face.
Can I stop there for a second? When he was drafted, was he what was Vancouver? Was Vancouver number 4? Did they get Hughes? Did Montreal not take Hughes?
I think, I think I'd have to look back. Let's see. He's 24 now. Was he a 2015 draft? Well, we know Vancouver never picks higher. Yeah. Most of the time they got Pettersson and Hughes around 5 and 6 or something in there, didn't they? Or wasn't it? Yeah. So they don't ever get higher than 5, even though they've been in there with a chance for it.
So, unlike Edmonton, who's number 1 every second year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I think Vancouver got Hughes because they got kotkaniemi. So I like what we've got back there. But you think he's going to change the Carolina Hurricanes for a lot?
I think he's going to be a really good addition there. I got a chance to see him play.
Is it change?
Yeah. Don't tell him. I didn't say he was going to change the world. I like the player. I think sometimes these guys, they kind of get stifled in organizations they're in. I'm not saying that was the case so much in Montreal, but we're going to see this kid's going to be able to play a lot freer, I believe, under the coaching staff in Carolina. So Brendan Moore. So I like what they did. They gave up a 1st and a 3rd round pick for him. Okay, so that's how it went. He was a restricted free agent. They gave him an offer sheet. If Montreal signs the kid, they're going to be over the cap, so they can't sign him.
Right.
So now the compensation from Carolina is a 1st and a 3rd. So 1st round pick, 3rd round pick. What does Montreal turn around and do? They've traded a 1st and a 2nd round pick out to Arizona for Christian Dvorak, who's a good player in his own right. So, but he's not making $6 million a year. So they get a guy with some term, a guy that Arizona was looking to move, and he's a good player. He's a good skater. He'll fit in really well in Montreal. But I think it probably burns a little bit that they lost a young player that they were trying to develop, and they're skinny in the middle right now at center. They lost Dano and Kotkaniemi this offseason. That was their first or second, I guess, basically second, third line centers in the playoffs.
How much do you think they're definitely not going to go as deep, even though this is going to piss off Brian Almy? I don't see them going as deep into the playoffs next year. Especially, how many players do you think they have going to the Olympics?
Well, they'll have quite a few. I mean, Price, the goalie, will definitely play for Canada. And you start looking out a little bit. There's definitely guys that have the opportunity to go and play for their country. Montreal, it's all going to come down to what their defense does. If Shea Weber doesn't come back, that's a massive hole they're going to have to fill. It was one thing Montreal kind of got on the sprint there at the end of the season. And they kind of reminded me of St. Louis a couple of years ago when St. Louis won it. They just didn't have enough gas in the tank to take out, Tampa in the end. But they were playing very physical, very fast-paced style. And I think that physical style has hurt St. Louis the last couple of years because since they won the Cup, I mean, they were running everything through the wall. Now it's tough to play that way for 82 games, and St. Louis has lost some real key pieces, and they're still trying to get back to where they were. Montreal, I could see them level a little bit next year, but if Price plays anything close to what he played in the playoffs and their D steps up like they did, you know what? They're going to be tough again. I don't know where they're going to get their offense right now from, though. Caulfield, he's going to be – people are going to have seen him next year by the time playoffs start.
Just a massive head on that guy. Just a massive head.
The kid's a hell of a player. And so
he's a great player. He's got Tweetbird head because it's hard to knock him over because he's got all that balance, though. So it's got Tweetbird. I think I said that, but if you look at it, once you brought up St. Louis, it all comes down into you just got to make it into the playoffs. Yeah. But if you create your team for the playoffs, there's a chance you won't make the playoffs. That's what's weird about it.
Yeah, that's for sure. And there's not going to be a lot of easy nights for Montreal next year, but there weren't a lot of easy nights for them this year because they didn't really play all that well in the North Division, but they showed what they're made of in the playoffs, and that was very impressive. So I certainly wouldn't count them out with their defense. But you lose Weber and Price in that, but you lose Weber, man, that's a massive, massive loss. They've got some serviceable guys though, and they got a taste of it. So we'll see what they do.
They got a taste of it. Hey, we got a couple questions this week.
Yeah, let's go.
Bobby Basante sent us. Is it Bobby or is it Victor? Victor, which one? Let's see which brother.
Hey, by the way, Mr. Bagg, it is 15 hours. It's 6:18. Okay, we're doing this today, 3:18 West Coast time, because that's how we roll. It's 6:18 a.m. right in Hong Kong right now, so that's 15 hours. School District 88 math says that's 15 hours. Am I right?
Well, School District.
Yeah. No, yeah, it is. It is. It's 15. That's what I thought.
Wow. Okay.
And anybody that has never been to Hong Kong, one of the best places in the world, loved it there. Loved it. And all kinds of. Yeah.
Okay. I was only there for 24 hours in Hong Kong, but I had a good time.
Evidently, you slept for most of it.
No, I walked around. No, that was China. I was on Hong Kong. I was on my way to Bangladesh, and I had a day there, so I spent my day there. Wow. That's right, people. I travel. I'm God damn it. You don't just get COVID from staying home.
That's right. You got to get out there. Hopefully, you were licking some people too, just to make sure.
Back to it. I ran into Victor Basante and his brother Bobby Basante. That's how I confused them. Up in Vancouver a couple weeks ago when we had a little talk, and they're huge hockey fans. Bobby used to catch pucks at your hockey school, Victor sent me a couple questions, and he goes, "I really like your podcast. Is awesome. It's so funny. It's so great to listen to. Can I send some questions in?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So he's got one question. He want to know, he said, I used to stare at those signs with the teams on them at the end of the arena, uh,
Mm-hmm.
with the teams that you were on that would go to championships, provincial championships, and end up in nationals all the time. But there was also kids from around our area that ended up in the NHL too. And
Right.
he wanted to know who were some of the best players you played from around our area that weren't from Terrace. And he had a couple of questions. One of the ones what he Mark Fitzpatrick and Alan
Mm-hmm.
Kerr were one of them that he asked about.
Right. So Alan Kerr, we'll start with him. Really good guy from Smithers, British Columbia originally. And so Alan played in Seattle in the Western League. And so when I came in the Western Hockey League, I was in Kelowna. So anyways, real good guy, but real hard-nosed player. And he played in Long Island for the Islanders. Just a gritty player. And he might have had some other stops, but I remember him in Seattle but definitely in Long Island. Played against him on the way up. And great guy. I have no idea where Alan is now, but just one of the nicest guys. But when he got on the ice, it was like he flipped a switch, totally different guy. And he was just a grinder. I'll try and think of somebody before the end of the podcast to compare him to, but just hard-nosed, really hard-nosed. Now, Mark Fitzpatrick is Kitimat, and I had a cup of coffee with Fitzy when he was down, up and down with the Islanders organization. I played with their farm team in Capital District around Albany, New York. And so Fitzy was down on a conditioning stint or just getting his game back. So obviously it was kind of fun to play with him because he grew up just down the street from us in Kitimat. If you go, there's obviously Dan Hamhuis from everybody in Vancouver and Nashville. And, because I know we're big in Nashville too. They all know who he is. Dallas. So there's other guys. We got Rudy Pocek played with us in Terrace. Dale Kushner. Obviously Flats is still going in Winnipeg as their assistant coach and goalie coach. So trying to think from Prince Rupert, but those are the guys that I come off the top of my head. And I apologize if I'm missing somebody because
I'm gonna ask a question. Do you know who is the first people to make the NHL or person to make the NHL from up in our area?
That's a good question. But, I was thinking of a guy from Kitimat. Bill O'Reilly played for the Washington Capitals years and years ago, back when we were young kids and the Terrace Centennials and Junior B was in town. He came up, and I remember him being from Kitimat, and he played for the Washington Capitals. And I believe it was Bill, but O'Reilly. But, yeah, I don't know who the first guy was to play. But I will say this. So we played AAA minor hockey, right? Mm-hmm. And off of the team that went to the Air Canada Cup, the Canada National Championships. Oh, I just dropped my phone with all my notes on it. Yeah, hey, getting all excited. But every kid on that team went on to play at least Junior A Tier 2 hockey or play in the Western Hockey League or went on to go play college. All but one kid went on and played, and that was amazing. You know who that was, I think.
I'm not saying anything.
One of the best people in the world didn't go on. The only one, but could have gone on, had an opportunity to play. But the rest of the kids all went out and at least played a year of junior hockey, and some went on to university, and the rest of us went on and tried to chase the dream. But that was how good that team was.
I think there should be and I'm gonna steal this off of somebody. There should be a documentary made on a group of kids from a small town in the middle of nowhere that were number one a year after year after year, and all those kids going, how far you guys made it in hockey. There should be a story about that.
And I think there should be a story about the support of the families too, and that's something. That's
part of it, though. You got to make a part of it. Like
100%. But I mean, people that look on the map, look where Terrace is. It's not like you just get in your car and you drive down. Like we'd fly down to Vancouver. We drive to Prince George's 7-8 hours in the winter. We drive to all these other places, and that's what made it special. And the support of the parents was incredible. But the luck of the draw of having that many talented players and that committed in a little small town like that is the stuff of. That's the kind of stuff that dreams are made.
Also, your father and the other fathers putting in the time to coach those teams. It isn't like it is now where coaches are paid to take these kids along. It was if your dad decided that he just didn't feel like doing it one season. Those boards are not on that wall anymore. And You know, that kind of thing. It's all volunteer back then. It's how we do our business now, but it's
That's right. We volunteered for 29 minutes and 26 seconds today. I don't know what we're giving back, but one day we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. He's got one other question. So Ropa Hintz had a breakout year last year. Who he wants to know? Do you guys know anybody that might I put it that he should put into his hockey pool this year? He's looking for some He's looking for an advantage on his hockey pool with his buddies. I'm gonna say if you got to go with Pettersson. I don't care if you're a Canucks fan or not. But he did not play last year. He's looking to win. He's looking to go to a winner. If Vancouver doesn't look like a winner, so he's going to light it up. You're going to see something special come out of that kid in Vancouver this year. So I'd grow with him. And how about you, Jeff?
Well, and if you're going to throw, I like Pettersson. He's unbelievable young player. Had a real rough year, but a guy that you might want to look at in Vancouver as well. Might not get as much attention, but he's going to have a big year, especially on the power play, is Connor Garland. Look for him. Do you know who I thought of? And when you brought this up to me, I've been running around like I'm lost here for the last week or so because I'm back at work now. But when you sent this to me earlier today, the first guy that came into my head was Buchnevich, who came out of New York and now is in St. Louis. You got a guy like that's going to go right on their first string power play. He's going to play with Ryan O'Reilly. And Perron, and those guys are point of game guys. So, and Buchnevich is a big guy, 6'4". So look for him to help bolster St. Louis. I'll just throw some other names. Verona in Detroit. Really like the player when he's in Washington. Really like him in Detroit. Really fast, high skill guy. He's going to get all kinds of chances. Again, another guy is going to play lots of minutes. Barzell's no secret, but you know what? I expect him to increase offensively. And I can go on. Here's a dark horse for you. How about Arvidsson in LA?
Yeah.
If you put him with Kopitar, which they will, and he's going to start on their power play. You got Doughty, Kopitar. I don't know where Dustin Brown's going to go there, but you have some high-end guys that can get the job done.
Does Arvidsson replace Carter? Is that who he's replacing?
Well, he's a right winger. I guess Carter was kind of between the wing and center there a little bit, but I think they're trying to get some depth. So now you get Dustin Brown, who they've been beaten up on because he makes so much, but he's really an effective player. So I think you're going to see Arvidsson get some time right away with Kopitar, who is just incredible player. So that's a guy maybe as a dark horse. And then, I know we got to wrap up here soon, but anybody that is in with Taves coming back in Chicago and the way Kane plays, any of those young guys you see get slotted in with them. And the same thing goes in Toronto with whoever's going to slot in with Marner and Matthews, because Hyman's now in Edmonton. And then, of course, Hyman in Edmonton would be a great pickup because he's going to play with McDavid or Draisaitl.
That's that's a good pickup in there.
Those aren't sleepers. I don't think Hyman's going to catch anyone by surprise, but you might want to look and see who's going to slot in Chicago. It's probably going to be a young guy or whoever it is on the wing because Taves is going to be like he shot out of a cannon this year with his health back. I think he's going to have a great year.
Nice. Very nice.
And Sam Bennett's another guy in Florida.
I had one player. Jeff had the whole league. I
got a whole bunch of them here, but he did say Rope Hintz, so I'm going to give another guy from Dallas. Gary Onoff can absolutely fly. Kind of would hope that Gary Onoff and Hintz both pick up their game so Dallas can get back to the kind of team that we think they can be.
That's what I call my dad. That's my dad in the Russian, Gary Onoff.
Hey, and don't forget Carolina's just big signing too. They're going to do everything they can to get that kid, kotkaniemi, get him all the cookies they can. Right? They got $6 million invested in this kid.
Yeah, you don't want 3 goals out of that guy. You want a little more than that. So, any shout outs this week, Jeff?
No. Well, why don't you start with the shout outs and then I'll wrap it up.
Okay, my shout out is to my father. My father, who is doing just fine and has one more day in lockdown after this douche right here gave him COVID. But thank God he was double vaccinated and he's doing just fine. I'm just a little angry because he's locked up, and but he's doing just fine. And thank you for everybody that asked about him. But big shout out to my dad, because I had such a fun time with him. It was just disappointing. I don't see him for 2 years. I take him shopping and I get him sick. Son of a bitch. That is Ian Bagg to a fucking P right there. Big shout out to my dad.
Well, if you're going to shout out to your dad, which I'll shout out to Gary too, right? Because
Right.
we've been, for people that have been affected by this, it's totally stressful, not only for the people involved, but for friends and family, because there's so many unknowns, no matter what side. What you think of COVID, what you don't think of it, it's very stressful. So shout out to Gary, but I'm going to shout out to Robin and Jocelyn, his Ian's mom and sister, for having to put up with Ian when he comes home. We all know how that is. And and we can kind of laugh and joke a little bit about it. But I also want to give us a shout out to the Graham Street boys there. Kyle and their podcast, they do a podcast up in Terra. So let's give a shout out to those guys. And my nephew loves listening to them. So there you go.
We'll throw them into we'll put it up there thing because so you can listen to it. It's a great podcast. They only talk to people from Terrace. Oh, actually, they've talked to some other people, but they talk about Terrace. So it's kind of a cool thing. Have you done it yet, or you're about to?
No, I haven't heard from Kyle. So
Kyle, you son of a bitch. Yeah, you'll
come
be doing
on, Kyle. Well, hey, we're not. I mean, we could. I guess we could wrap it on that, eh?
I guess it's up to you if you want to. Is there something else?
Your favorite fan will be seeing them tonight, Chris and Terry Meyer. So, do you want to say anything to them before we go?
Yeah, say hi to them. Tell them I'll see them at the end of the month. Thank them for being avid listeners and always bitching that we don't talk about the Vegas Knights enough.
Oh yeah, we went right by Vegas this week. So, I might have some for Vegas for you next week.
You never know. Anyways, Jeff, love to all.
Love to all.
Well, wasn't that fun, everybody? I hope you had a good time. Make sure you rate, like, and review, and send it to your friends. Make sure you let them know that enjoying orange slices with Jeff and Ian is number 5 in Australia and number 1,000 in North America. So tune in next week when we all talk about hockey again.